They say that Limbo is a world made from memories of the dead. And memories can be treacherous. Sometimes I only see glimpses of mine. And sometimes I remember too much. I remember your face. And I'll do whatever it takes to see you again. We just have to wait a little longer. Until this job is done.
Hello and welcome to this video. First off, I want to say thank you for clicking on this video to begin with, and welcome to a sunny overview of SoulSlinger. Now, first off, I would like to preference that this game is still in early access, so things are prone to change and are likely to be vastly different from the way that they are now, farther in the future. So view this more as a time capsule to look back on what the game may have been like before it becomes whatever it may become within the next few years, depending on how or when it changes. But what better place to start when speaking about a game than the gameplay? Now, to start off, SoulSlinger is a first-person shooter roguelite Souls-like. And for those that may not know what that specifically means, it's just, this is a hard game where you die a lot, you go through a lot of runs doing the same thing over and over again to try and complete a full run to see what might be at the end of the run, depending on the game and what it offers at the end. Perhaps it's more of the same, perhaps it's a proper ending, or anything of that sort. But regardless, this is a roguelite, so this game has things that are similar to other roguelites, and even some things that are unique to it, at least in some way. With the thing being similar to other roguelites being your temporary upgrades, with those upgrades in this game being temporary abilities, or soul essence. Now, these essences have different types of forms, ranging from blood essence to blazing essence to shadow essence and a few others. Now, what this does is it more generalizes it, gives it a certain type of essence. It doesn't mean too much, again, it's just more of a generalization. The blazing essence is fire related. The shadow essence are things that are akin to shadow and dealing damage through marking your enemies, or electric essence, which are things based around electricity, Now, what these specific abilities look like can be any number of things. With blazing essence, you get the ability to damage enemies with fire damage whenever you dash nearby them, or you can load your gun with explosive rounds. With shadow essence, you can summon clones of yourself that shoot whenever you shoot, dealing a little extra damage to those that you hit. With electric essence, you can shoot out a bolt of lightning at enemies nearby, temporarily stunning them for a short period of time. But you do also have your permanent upgrades as well. These tend to be more passive things, like being able to have more gold at the start of each run, or having a little extra health, or having perhaps a bump in damage to a specific type, like having extra blaze damage or fire damage over time. To even more unique upgrades, like being able to purchase the Soul Forge key, which unlocks an area allowing you to either upgrade your ability that you may have, or let you completely reroll an ability to something similar, like being able to change your explosive rounds to noxious rounds, which is poison damage. Along with being able to choose from a selection of weapons, and by selection I mean 4, so not that much, but each weapon is fairly enjoyable and is fun, and they each have their own ability that makes them stand out, except for the first gun that you get, because, I don't know where I'm going with this, let's move on. And it's with these slew of temporary abilities and permanent upgrades that allow you to try and get together your perfect run that tends to be associated with roguelites. being able to have the right abilities and the right passives and upgrades in order to deal the best amount of damage, to survive the worst of conditions, and to come out on top. But these are all pretty typical things for most that know of roguelites. But the way that this game stands out the most is the way that all of these things come together in a specific way that create a familiar yet slightly different experience. Choosing between weapons and their perks, choosing specific temporary abilities, and getting as many passives as you can get, and permanent upgrades that allow you to be better despite the run that you may be on. But it's also things like the luck of being able to get to the Soul Forge, as there's only a 20% chance that you'll get to go through it in the midst of a run. Or being able to go to the Emporium, where a skeletal pirate waits for us, allowing us to purchase goods from him in exchange for gold, despite not having any use for it. It's these things that all come together that create a fairly different and unique experience. That and the challenge. This game is fairly hard. I'm gonna be honest. There's a reason I said Souls-like. It is fairly similar to Souls-like in its form of its difficulty, as it's this difficulty that makes the game stand out. As regardless of how strong your powers and abilities may be, it does not take much in order to keel over and die. Honestly, it only takes a few hits. If you're not careful, you can very easily lose the run, which is definitely what makes it interesting. Similarly to other roguelites, the further you go, the more dangerous it gets. But the thing is, with SoulSlinger, the difficulty comes through enemy density, as it's always hard. It's just how much more difficult is it going to get the longer you go. As when you start out, you only have to deal with a handful of enemies. But once you get further and further in, it looks like Black Friday at an average Walmart at 6 in the morning, and you're the last surviving worker before the rest of the mob gets to you. But that is all I will speak about when it comes to the gameplay. As there still are multiple things in which I could speak about, this is an overview, and I would like for people to experience those things on their own, and to not explain everything about the game, but to merely give an idea of what the game is like. And there still is the story to talk about, and while there isn't too much to speak of, there is still something to speak about, and that's what I would like to speak about. Now, there isn't too much to the story. As I said before, this still is in early access, so there's probably still a lot more to come in regards to that. But the character you play as, SoulSlinger, yes, that is what he's called, seemed to, at one point, have been a normal man living his life with what I presume was his wife, before accident struck, causing at least his wife to pass, along with him. And in doing so, he found himself in the afterlife, but not without purpose, as he still wished to find his wife and to be with her once again, and in doing so made a deal with death in order to achieve that one day. What that deal specifically was, I don't know, but it did involve our friend, the SoulSlinger, becoming an envoy of death. Essentially, a soldier of death, being sent out to go to places where death himself cannot go, such as Limbo, the place that you play in. And the arenas that you go through are places that death cannot go through, mostly. And the main reason that death recruits the SoulSlinger is to help him face off against the cartel, the main enemy that you face in this game. But not the kind that likes drugs, the kind that collects souls in order to gain power and strength. And Death doesn't like that, as his goal is to take souls in order to help them pass on to the afterlife. And so that's where you come in, facing off against the cartel, and stopping them from taking and breaking souls, before Death is able to get to them and allow them to get to the afterlife. Now, the main characters that you have are SoulSlinger, Lady Valerie, Death himself, and the main boss, at least of the first area, the Cursed King. Now, the writing for this game isn't terrible by any means. It's not obnoxious or annoying in any way, but it doesn't stand out in any superb way either. It's enjoyable, but not perfect. The character that you play as, SoulSlinger, isn't anything too special. He's just kind of a guy that became an envoy of death. The interactions he has with Lady Valerie are enjoyable and charming from time to time, along with Death being surprisingly interesting for the embodiment of death, as he is what you would expect from someone to have the personality of death itself.
Thanks for the help. Any other assistance you can give me?
No.
But still having an odd sense of what felt like almost compassion in the way he cares about souls and making sure that they pass on intact and healthy. The way he cares about souls being whole and together, being able to help them pass on into the afterlife. But, as I said, there wasn't too much to speak on when it comes to the story, or merely I just haven't gone far enough into the game in order to get all the information that I could possibly get. With there being some hints here or there at a bigger picture, and with understanding more about the SoulSlinger and his past life, or what specifically had happened to him before he fully became an envoy. And while there is more I could speak on this game, this is merely meant to be an overview. Just simply looking at the game from a distance and looking at it only a little in detail, but leaving the rest up to you if you decide to purchase this game. If nothing else, I do hope that this gave you a little more information, and perhaps if you were considering buying it, this helped you came to your decision a little bit better. Or if you already had it and you just simply wanted to see someone talk about it, I hope I talked well enough for you. But there isn't much else for me to say about this, other than this game is enjoyable. It's not perfect, it is still in early access, and I think it's still got a little ways to go. But I do see the potential, and I do feel the potential with this game, and I do hope it succeeds, and that those behind this game are enjoying its creation and are proud of what they are in the midst of making, and that one day in the future, they'll be proud of the full creation that they've brought to life in whatever state it may be in once it comes out of early access. So, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you do plan on purchasing this game, I do hope that you enjoy showing the cartel just how much of a gunslinger you truly are. Or, should I say, SoulSlinger.